Hello, welcome to episode 24 of How to Play Like a WoW Pro. Today I'm going to be showing you 24 tanks and their specific weak spots. And these weak spots are lesser known weak spots. In fact, there are some weak spots that I cover in this video that I didn't even know about until I talked with Tengu, Ruev, and Muscles about it. And those three I really want to thank for helping me make this video. It took quite a lot of time sitting around in training rooms doing this, so I just really want to thank them for helping me make this video. Without further ado, let's get started with the Chieftain. So there are two weak spots on the Chieftain that I want to cover. One is beneath the gun, and the other is underneath the turret. And you'll know what I mean about underneath the turret when I show you later. But first, let me show you this weak spot. So this weak spot right here is one that you should only ever really aim for when you're completely beneath the Chieftain. So when you can barely see his cupola at all. Right now, if I were playing in a pub match against this Chieftain, I would probably just aim for his cupola. But if I were in something like a 279E, and I have like 330 plus millimeters of penetration, then I would probably go for this weak spot here. Now, it's not really fair to call it a weak spot, and that's kind of going to be a theme in this video. There are a lot of weak spots that actually require 300 plus or 330 plus millimeters of penetration to reliably pen, but I don't really know what else to call them, so that's what I'm going to be calling them in this video. So, if you have 330 plus millimeters of penetration, then it's usually a good idea to go for this when you don't have a shot on the cupola. But if you have less than 330, so you have like 310 or 320 millimeters of penetration, like a Chieftain does, then you want to be aiming for the turret cheeks. Now this is a very low chance to penetrate, so I'm going to shoot at them a lot, but I'm not going to pen except like one time. So I just want to make you aware that these are not ideal weak spots to go for, but if you have nothing else to shoot at, including the cupola, then it's sometimes worth going for it, especially in like a clan war situation where you're just sitting hull down for minutes at a time. So that's the ideal place to aim, on the right side of the turret, right here, when you don't have a 330, 340 millimeters of penetration, in which case you would go for this. So that's what I'm going for here, and I'll just speed this up a little bit. As you can see, there is a green spot, so it is pennable, and I pen it right there. But that's all I'm going to show you for that weak spot. Here you can see I actually aim for his turret ring, and I pen that, but there aren't very many situations where you would go for the turret ring, because if you can see that much of his turret, then you can almost definitely see his cupola. So let's go on to the second weak spot. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Now, Tengu actually showed me this weak spot in Discord right now, like as I was doing this, so that's why I'm kind of just sitting here for a while. I'm seeing where he wants me to aim. And the trick to this weak spot is you actually aim through the tracks up into the back rear of the bottom of the turret. So I think it's probably this next shot. Let me fast forward a little bit more. If not, then I'll just skip forward if this takes too long, but I think this is it. So I'm looking through the side of his tank right now, and as you're going to see in a moment, when you're below a Chieftain, you can actually pen it right here. So imagine that this is a turret, right? The turret has a bottom side. The bottom side actually hangs out from the hull right here. It's right here. So the hull ends around here. The turret actually protrudes a little bit, and you can actually see the bottom side of it right here. So when a Chieftain is completely hull down on you, that's another weak spot you can go for, and you can overmatch it with, I believe, like, I don't know, 100 millimeters of penetration or something. It's really weak, is my point. So with AP or APCR, you're able to easily pen that if you're able to hit it. It's not exactly the easiest target, but there you can see I managed to hit it. And you can just see these little flashes of green that pop up. And it's really hard to track because he's moving, but especially when he's wiggling, if I wait until he lurches backwards, then I can hit the weak spot. Alright, Dark Ninja, are you gonna aim? Okay, I think I aim for it again. Here. So maybe you saw it. There's a tiny little flash of green. There it is, right there. You shoot right up into the bottom side of the turret, just like that. And I'm gonna hit it one more time. You can see the green there. I missed there. I can't find it, and there it is. Alright, so that's the Chieftain done. Let's move on to the next tank. I'll try to be quicker about the next ones. So for our second tank, or I should say tank destroyer, we have the Yag Panzer E100. And what I want to show you in this replay is that you can simply pen the Yag Panzer E100 up through its tracks and do damage with at the same time while tracking it. This is a very nice thing to have whenever a Yag Panzer E100 is trying to YOLO you. You can simply just shoot right up into its tracks, and it really doesn't even need to be very specific. It just needs to go somewhere in this general area or this general area, and it will pen and do damage. Just use your pen indicator to know exactly where to shoot. But it's basically just as weak as the lower plate, as you can see. There I'm outlining, as you can see. You can't shoot the outer portion of the track, but you can shoot the inner portion and it will do damage in track every single time. Alright, let's move on to the next one. So something I actually forgot to mention in the last JP clip was that you can do the same thing on an E100 as well as some other obscure German tanks, but not all German tanks. Now we're going on to the VK7201, not to be confused with the Panzer 7. Now with the VK7201K, what you want to do is you want to look around its gun mantlet. So there's like a U shape here, and it's all going to be green if you have like over 310 millimeters of penetration with APCR. And I'm pretty sure you can pen it with heat as well, although someone please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Now don't look above the gun unless you're above the tank. If you're above the tank, then I believe you can shoot above it as the mantlet as well. But if you're level with the tank like I am here, you just want to aim in a U shape here. And I think the left side is probably the easiest side to pen, but it doesn't really matter. Just this either side of the gun is usually your best bet. Now this differs from the Panzer 7, and with the Panzer 7, which I'll show later by the way, you can just pen straight through the gun, like anywhere around here or all the way out here. With this, it's a specific U shape. So I'm just going to take a couple more shots and then we'll move on to the next one, but that's how you want to pen a VK. Actually, no, that's it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So now let's go over the 705A. Again, I wouldn't really call this a weak spot, but it is somewhere that you can pen that if you have no other shot is a viable option if you have the right amount of penetration. So if you have 340 millimeters of penetration plus, maybe if you have 330, but really if you have 340 plus, you can pen the 705A directly through its turret in this area right here. You can also aim for the turret ring here. But don't be aiming out here or like out here. It's not gonna pen. You need to aim in this like little area right here. And I'll just speed it up in a second. That one bounces, but you'll see in a second that this works very well. If you have 340 plus penetration, this is a very easy place to pen, especially if you're slightly above them and it's perfectly flat to you. If he angles up at all, it's basically a guaranteed bounce, but if it's just flat onto you, you can pen it reliably. Well, reliably, probably like 50 or 60% of the time is what I would call reliably. So here you can see I'm just farming him. I think that's all I really have to show for this one, so let's move on to the next. So now we're on to the Kron. I'm going to keep this one short. Basically, I just want you guys to know that you can shoot the side of the gun on the Kron and it's a weak spot. So you can aim here, or you can aim at any of this. This is all a hitbox, so it all counts and it's easy to penetrate. I'm doing it in an EBR, so just to show how easy it is to penetrate. A lot of people, when they see a Kron sticking its turret around a corner, they don't realize that this entire thing is just an easy free pen, so Yeah, let's go on to the next. Okay, so with the 50B, there are two weak spots I want you to know about the 50B. The first of all is that you can pen these shoulders with high penetration HE shells very easily. This shoulder here, and then on the other side as well. And I'll show you just how weak the side of the 50B actually is. And you can pen it frontally as you can see. So I think this third shot I show you, maybe not. It's this fourth shot I show you. Look how far away I am. I'm all the way over here, and it's still yellow. It was just green a second ago, so like you can pen this at very extreme angles even if you have very high penetration HE. But even with like 80 millimeters of HE penetration, you can still pen it reliably. And then the second weak spot I want you to know about the 50B is that with APCR or AP, you can pen it directly through the tracks and it will go into the hull and overmatch it. So you can track it and do damage with the same shot very easily, just like you can on the Yag Panzer E100. Not sure if I actually do that in this replay. I can check, I guess. Yeah, I do. So as you can see, all of this is green. Red, 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 and then that's all green, all on the inside. It doesn't, it's the frontal plate of the 50B is very strong, but all of this is shooting the side of the 50B, so it's very easy to penetrate and track at the same time. There we go. Alright, let's go on to the next. Okay, so with the IS-7, there are two turret weak spots that I want you to know about. But before that, just know that you can actually pen the IS-7 directly through the turret if you have high enough penetration and if the angle is not too bad. So right now, I could pen this probably 60% of the time if I were to shoot it. I'm not sure if I actually do shoot it, but then when it comes to the two weak spots, here are the two that you need to know. First is underneath the gun. If he raises his gun, it's basically an auto pen. Especially if you can see a little, there's like a little square underneath the gun if he raises his gun very high. If you shoot that, it's basically 0 armor, and you can probably even pen it with HE, to be honest, although I wouldn't recommend it. And then I'll show you the second weak spot in a second. Now this weak spot I had no clue existed before this video. Ruev taught me it, and man, it's actually ridiculous. I had no idea this was a thing, and it's so interesting. You can just shoot this little square right up here. I'll show you, I think I'll show you again in a second. But you can just straight up, like, you can just pen this, like, this little box here, you can pen, which is ridiculous. Who else knew about this? Like, I had no idea this was in the game. I know there are a couple people in Cracked who knew about it, but man, that one just blew me away. I had no idea. But here's the little square I'm talking about. This is all an auto pen, basically. And you can even pen this right here. But you might need a little bit more penetration to pen it, but it's not a hard pen at all. So those are the two weak spots I wanted to show you on the IS-7. I want to see if I shoot that thing again. So from this angle, it's literally just green. And then if he looks, even from the other side, looking the other way, it's still green, which is just, it completely baffles me. I had no idea this was a thing. So hopefully you didn't either, and this is something new you learned, even if you're a more advanced player. So let's go on to the next. Okay, so the next one will be the IS-4. And what I want to show you on the IS-4 is the turret ring. The turret ring on the IS-4 is quite easy to penetrate, with premium ammo especially. I got unlucky there, I don't know what I hit, but as you can see, it's all green. Like, this entire area is just green. Now obviously you wouldn't be aiming for this if you had his hull, but in the case where he's playing hull down, it's a very good place to penetrate him because they oftentimes overexpose and they show their turret ring, even though they can be penned there easily. And I get unlucky again. I'm telling you, this is just straight up luck. This is very unlucky. Like, these should be hitting. But as you can see, I'll pen him like 3 times in a row. And if you have good aim, it's really not too hard to hit either. Again, that shot wasn't unlucky actually. That shot I was aiming and his turret was pointed a little bit this way, so it was actually at a slight angle. so it didn't completely penetrate, but I'm gonna show you these shots in 1x speed. Even when he's moving, it's really not too hard to hit if you have good aim. And that's it. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm actually going to split this video into 2 parts. So the next one will be out within 24 hours probably. But let's make our last tank the 263. So the 263, there's a weak spot that everybody should know about. It's very useful to know about. And it's this little triangle right on the outside of the hull, on either side of the hull. And you can pen it whenever it's side scraping, and it's very easy to penetrate. Well, it's like 200 millimeters effective, I'm pretty sure. Flat, so I can just pen it over and over again. And I didn't know about this weak spot for a very long time, but now that I know about it, it makes dealing with 263 so much easier. Alright, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.